That bottle of aspirin in your medicine cabinet has a direct ancestor growing by a riverbank 1,000 years ago. We often picture the Middle Ages as a time of superstition and suffering, yet hidden within that era was a profound understanding of the natural world. Medieval herbal remedies were not just primitive guesswork. They form the very bedrock of many modern treatments we rely on today. This journey will take you from the common herbs in your kitchen to the powerful, almost magical plants described in ancient manuscripts. You will discover the scientific secrets behind these historical cures, secrets that validate the wisdom of our ancestors. How did monks and healers without laboratories uncover such potent plant powers? What forgotten remedies are still hiding in plain sight in our gardens and parks? By the end, you will see the green world outside your window not as mere decoration, but as a living library of ancient medicine. What family story about a simple plant remedy have you always wondered about? Medieval herbal remedies were the primary medicine for 1,000 years, a sophisticated system built on the knowledge of local plants. This was not a single, unified practice, but a vast body of knowledge flowing from three main sources. Within the quiet walls of monasteries, monks meticulously cultivated healing gardens and copied ancient texts like the Materia Medica, a foundational work on botany and medicine. Outside the monastery walls, village wise women and folk healers held a deep, oral understanding of the plants growing in the fields and forests. Their knowledge was passed down through generations, a living library of practical cures. The use of these plants was guided by the era's dominant medical theory, the system of the four humors. Physicians believed health depended on balancing blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile within the body. An illness might be seen as an excess of cold, wet phlegm, for instance, so a healer would prescribe a hot, dry plant like sage to restore the balance. This framework blended what they observed with their beliefs about the world. While some remedies included chants or rituals we would now call superstitious, the core of the practice was based on sharp, repeated observation. A poultice of yarrow reliably stopped bleeding. Tea from chamomile flowers genuinely soothed a troubled stomach. These healers did not know about salicylic acid or anti-inflammatory compounds, but through trial and error over centuries, they identified plants that contained them. They were using the chemistry of nature long before they had the words to describe it. A simple daisy-like flower, chamomile, was one of the medieval world's most trusted cures. In an era without sleeping pills or antacids, this humble plant served as a tranquilizer, a digestive aid, and a household disinfectant. Monks cultivated it in their specialized physic gardens, carefully documenting its uses in their herbals. But its influence extended far beyond the monastery walls. People would often strew the fresh flowers on their floors, and as they walked across the rushes, the crushing action would release a sweet, apple-like scent into the air. This was not just about masking odors. It was a form of passive aromatherapy, a constant, low-level infusion designed to calm a restless household and soothe frayed nerves. A tea made from its dried flowers was the standard remedy for a troubled mind, a restless night, or a stomach ache after a heavy meal. Today, you can find that same remedy in tea bags on supermarket shelves and in bottles of essential oil. Modern science has now confirmed why this medieval cure-all works so well. Chamomile contains a powerful compound called apigenin. When you drink chamomile tea, this molecule travels to your brain and binds to the same receptors as prescription anti-anxiety drugs. It does not work as strongly, of course, but it gently encourages the nervous system to relax. This direct biological action proves that those medieval healers, who knew nothing of brain receptors, had identified a genuinely potent plant through careful observation. They could see the effect, even if the mechanism was a mystery to them. So the next time you sip a cup of chamomile tea to unwind, you are participating in a healing ritual that is centuries old, one where ancient intuition and modern chemistry finally agree. The same quiet magic that soothed a troubled stomach could also drive away pests and purify the air. Lavender was a powerhouse of practical medieval life, its sharp, clean scent cutting through the grime and chaos of the era. People would scatter the dried stalks and flowers on their floors as a strewing herb. As feet crunched over them, the plant released its potent oils, repelling fleas, lice, and other insects. This was not merely about comfort. In a time when many believed diseases were spread by foul air or miasma, lavender's fragrance was thought to cleanse the very atmosphere, creating a protective barrier against sickness. It was tucked into linens and clothing chests to keep moths away and leave a fresh scent, a direct ancestor of the lavender sachets we use today. Perhaps its most vital role was in washing. The plant's very name, lavender, comes from the Latin word lavare, which means to wash. Healers would steep it in water to create a cleansing wash for wounds, recognizing its ability to clean without causing further harm. This reputation for protection reached its peak during the plague years. A famous legend tells of 4 thieves who robbed the homes and bodies of plague victims yet remained healthy. When captured, they supposedly traded their secret for a lighter sentence, a formula known as 4 thieves vinegar. They claimed to have washed themselves with a vinegar steeped with strong herbs, and lavender was almost always a key ingredient in those recipes. Today, we understand the science behind these ancient practices. The same essential oils that repelled insects also possess powerful antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties. Modern aromatherapy uses lavender oil to reduce stress and promote sleep, validating its historical use for calming the spirit. You can find lavender extract in antiseptic creams for minor cuts and burns, a direct parallel to those medieval wound washes. It has even found its way into gourmet kitchens as a subtle floral flavoring. From a strewing herb on a dusty floor to a vital component of modern self-care, lavender's journey shows how a plant's fundamental properties can be rediscovered and refined across centuries, its uses evolving while its core power remains unchanged. While lavender purified the air, another plant worked its quiet magic within the body. Peppermint was the medieval digestive powerhouse, a reliable remedy for everything from a simple stomach cramp to painful bloating and gas. Monks valued it so highly they cultivated it in their monastery gardens, not just for medicine, but as a symbol of hospitality. Offering a guest a cup of peppermint tea infused in wine or hot water was a gesture of welcome and care, a way to soothe a traveler's weary body after a long journey. Its sharp, cooling sensation did more than just freshen breath. It seemed to calm internal turmoil with remarkable speed. Healers did not know why it worked, only that it did, prescribing it for what they called a sour stomach or a cold gut. Today, that same plant is at the heart of modern digestive science. The essential oil that gave peppermint its signature kick is now the star ingredient in many over-the-counter medications for irritable bowel syndrome. The molecule responsible, menthol, acts as an antispasmodic, gently relaxing the muscles of the digestive tract and relieving the cramping and discomfort that have plagued humans for centuries. Walk down any supermarket aisle, and you will see this ancient knowledge in action. Peppermint tea remains one of the world's most popular comfort drinks for an upset stomach. The essence of the plant flavors our toothpaste and candies, a testament to its enduring power to cleanse and refresh. This is not a case of modern science inventing something new, but of it finally explaining why an old, trusted remedy always worked. The journey of peppermint, from a monastic garden to a laboratory and then into your medicine cabinet, shows a direct and unbroken chain of human discovery. If peppermint soothed the inner workings of the body, another common plant stood as a fierce guardian at its gates. Garlic was the medieval antibiotic, a humble bulb with a formidable reputation for fighting off everything from common infections to the terrifying specter of the plague. People would eat it raw, a potent practice for warding off sickness from within. For wounds, they crushed the cloves into a pungent poultice, applying it directly to cuts and sores to prevent them from turning foul. And in a world where the lines between physical and spiritual illness were often blurred, garlic's protective power extended to the unseen. It was not uncommon for someone to wear a clove of garlic around their neck, a simple amulet meant to repel evil spirits believed to cause disease. This was a medicine that worked on multiple levels, addressing the body, the environment, and even the soul. We now know the secret behind this power lies in a molecule called allicin. When you crush or chop a clove of garlic, you rupture its cells, allowing two separate components to mix and react. This chemical reaction creates allicin, a sulfur compound with remarkable antibacterial and antifungal properties. That medieval wound poultice was effectively delivering a direct dose of a natural antibiotic to the site of an infection, preventing the growth of harmful bacteria long before anyone knew what bacteria were. Modern science continues to unlock garlic's potential, with research now focused on its benefits for the heart and circulation. Studies suggest it can help lower blood pressure and cholesterol, directly fulfilling its ancient role as a guardian of vitality and long life. So the next time you flavor a meal with garlic, remember you are not just adding taste. You are tapping into an ancient tradition of protection, one where a simple bulb was a first line of defense in a world full of unseen threats. Even the name of this plant speaks of its power. Sage, from the Latin word salver, literally means to save or to be in good health. In the medieval world, that was not just a name, it was a promise. This silvery green leaf was considered a cornerstone of the healing arts, a cure-all so vital that an old proverb asked, "Why should a man die while sage grows in his garden?" Its uses were as diverse as they were profound. A strong tea made from its leaves was the go-to remedy for a raw, scratchy throat and painful mouth ulcers. People would also chew the fresh leaves to clean their teeth and freshen their breath, a primitive but effective form of oral hygiene, but its reputation extended beyond the physical. Sage was deeply entwined with wisdom and purification. It was believed that simply having the plant in your garden could promote mental clarity and a long life. In some traditions, it was burned to cleanse a space of negative energies or used in rituals to help scholars focus and remember their studies. This was not mere superstition, it was an intuitive understanding of the plant's true nature. Today, you can find the legacy of this medieval wisdom in any pharmacy. That medicated sore throat lozenge that soothes the pain, or that powerful mouthwash that claims to kill germs, often contains a key ingredient derived from sage. The magic molecule is called thymol, a powerful antiseptic and astringent. Thymol is the reason sage was so effective at calming throat infections and healing mouth sores. It directly attacks the bacteria responsible for the discomfort. Modern research has also uncovered that sage is packed with antioxidants, compounds that help protect our cells from damage. This scientific finding gives a whole new meaning to that ancient proverb about sage preventing death. It seems our ancestors were onto something profound, recognizing a plant that could truly help sustain health and vitality. So the next time you feel a tickle in your throat, remember the silver leaf plant that medieval healers held in such high esteem. Their reverence was not just tradition, it was a premonition of the chemistry we would one day understand. While sage promised to save the body, another herb was believed to rescue the soul from its darkest moments. St. John's wort earned its name by bursting into brilliant yellow bloom around the feast of St. John the Baptist in late June, a time of light and celebration. Medieval people saw profound meaning in this timing. They believed the plant held the very power of the sun, a potent force against the demons and spirits of melancholy that they called the black dog, a heavy shadow of despair we would now recognize as depression. They did not just brew it as a tea. They would steep the sunny yellow flowers in olive oil for weeks, creating a deep, blood-red oil that was a prized possession in any healer's kit. This vibrant liquid was massaged into the skin to ease the searing pain of damaged nerves and to help deep wounds and burns heal cleanly. They were treating the invisible wounds of the spirit and the visible wounds of the body with the very same preparation. Modern science has since peered into that crimson oil and uncovered its secrets. The plant is packed with hyperricin and hyperforin, compounds that act on the brain in a way similar to some prescription antidepressants. They help balance the levels of key mood-regulating chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Dozens of clinical studies have now confirmed that St. John's wort is significantly more effective than a placebo for alleviating mild to moderate depression. directly validating its ancient reputation as a powerful mood lifter. That characteristic red oil they made, it is still produced and sold today as a topical treatment for nerve pain and inflammation. So when you see this common plant with its perforated leaves, remember it is more than a weed. It is a living testament to an ancient understanding that the mind and body are deeply connected, a natural remedy that chased away the black dog centuries before we had the words for the darkness it fought. A small, daisy-like plant growing by a cottage door held a powerful secret for banishing one of humanity's most persistent pains. Known to medieval English gardeners as featherfoil, feverfew was a staple of the humble cottage garden, cultivated not for its beauty, but for its remarkable ability to ease headaches, fevers, and the deep ache of arthritis. The preventative method was simple and direct. To ward off the debilitating onset of a migraine, a person would chew a few of its bitter leaves each day. This was not a cure for the pain once it had taken hold, but a daily ritual meant to build a defense against the attack itself. It was a form of preventative medicine practiced in the most unassuming of settings, passed from one generation to the next as common knowledge. For centuries, this was dismissed by modern medicine as mere folklore, an old wives' tale with no real substance. Then, in the late 20th century, science caught up. Researchers isolated the very compound that gave feverfew its power, a molecule called parthenolide. We now understand that migraines are often triggered by the sudden release of certain chemicals in the brain, including serotonin and prostaglandins, which cause blood vessels to expand and inflame, creating that familiar throbbing agony. Parthenolide works by effectively blocking the release of these chemicals. The act of chewing the fresh leaf, just as medieval people did, releases this compound directly into the system, acting as a natural prophylactic. This ancient practice of chewing a bitter leaf has been validated by clinical trials, which confirm its effectiveness at reducing the frequency and severity of migraine attacks for many people. You can now find feverfew standardized extracts sold in capsules in health food stores around the world. It is a profound example of a folk remedy not just being proven correct, but of science explaining precisely how and why it worked all along. That humble plant by the garden gate was, in truth, a sophisticated neurological treatment waiting for its moment to be understood. That bitter taste of willow bark tea was once the only relief from a raging fever or deep, aching pain. For centuries, healers would harvest the slender branches of the willow tree, peeling the bark to brew into a potent, astringent tea. This was a remedy with an ancient pedigree, recommended by the father of medicine himself, Hippocrates, for easing pain and lowering fevers. Medieval healers, following this long tradition, prepared it as a tea or mashed it into a poultice to place directly on inflamed joints. They did not know what powerful force they were harnessing, only that the willow tree, which thrived in damp, cold places, seemed to hold the cure for ailments born of those very same conditions. It was a classic example of the doctrine of signatures, the belief that a plant's appearance hinted at its healing purpose. The relentless search for the secret behind this ancient cure culminated in the 19th century. A German chemist, Johann Buchner, successfully isolated the key compound, a bitter-tasting yellow powder he called salicin, from the bark. This was the breakthrough. Later, chemists in France and Germany worked to modify this natural substance, creating a less harsh and more effective version. Their work eventually produced acetylsalicylic acid, a name we know today by its brand name, aspirin. The name itself is a direct nod to its botanical origin, derived from the old botanical name for meadowsweet, spirea, another plant rich in salicylates. So that little white pill in billions of medicine cabinets around the world, one of the most important synthetic drugs ever created, did not spring from a laboratory alone. Its origin story is written in the bark of a tree that grew by a riverbank, a story first understood not by chemists, but by medieval healers who trusted the wisdom of the woods. The willow's transformation into aspirin is a story of chemistry catching up to nature, but another plant offered protection from a far more insidious kind of threat. Milk thistle is a striking plant, with glossy green leaves dramatically streaked with brilliant white veins. Medieval legend held that these white marks were a divine gift, the milk of the Virgin Mary herself, which fell upon the leaves and blessed the plant with its power. This was not just a pretty story, it was a signature of its purpose. Healers saw this milky appearance and believed it could promote a mother's milk, but its most vital role was as a guardian of the body's own internal filter, the liver. They used it to treat the jaundiced yellow skin of liver ailments, and it was a famed antidote for the most feared poisons of the era, from snake bites to deadly mushrooms. They were tapping into a profound truth they could not possibly see. That white-veined leaf contains a complex of compounds modern science calls silymarin, a powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent concentrated in the plant seeds. We now understand that silymarin works by actually stabilizing the outer membrane of liver cells, making it harder for toxins to get inside. It can even stimulate the regeneration of new, healthy liver cells, helping the organ repair itself from damage. Today, you will find milk thistle extract, standardized for its silymarin content, sold as a leading supplement worldwide. It is used by doctors to treat toxic liver damage, including poisoning from the deathcap mushroom, exactly as the old herbals claimed. It supports patients with alcoholic liver disease and is even studied for its protective role during cancer therapies. The medieval vision of this plant as a divine protector was, in its own way, perfectly accurate. They saw the signature on the leaf and understood its purpose, long before we could peer into a cell and watch it work. Across the ocean, a spiky purple flower was building a different kind of reputation. Echinacea, with its bold, cone-shaped center, was a cornerstone of healing for many Native American tribes. They developed a deep understanding of this resilient prairie plant long before any European settler set foot on the continent. For them, it was a go-to remedy for some of life's most serious challenges. A poultice made from its roots was applied to wounds and snake bites to fight infection. It was used to treat sore throats, toothaches, and even the deadly scourge of smallpox. This was not casual folklore. It was a sophisticated and effective system of medicine born from generations of careful observation. When European colonists arrived and struggled with new illnesses and injuries, they took notice. They saw the undeniable results when native healers used Echinacea, and they began to adopt it for their own use. By the late 19th century, this new world plant had secured a firm place in the European and American pharmacopoeia, becoming one of the most popular medicinal herbs of its time. Its modern fame, of course, is as a powerful immune booster, the star ingredient in countless remedies designed to fight off the common cold and flu. So how does this ancient wound healer translate into a modern cold fighter? The connection lies in your body's first responders, your white blood cells. Scientific studies have shown that compounds in Echinacea, particularly a complex mix of polysaccharides and caffeic acid derivatives, can stimulate the activity of these vital immune cells. Think of your immune system as a castle guard. When you take Echinacea at the first sign of a sniffle, it is like sounding an alarm, encouraging more guards to patrol the walls and prepare for battle. This action directly reduces the severity and duration of a cold, fulfilling the plant's ancient role as a powerful ally against invading illness. From the Great Plains to the pharmacy shelf, Echinacea's journey reminds us that profound medical wisdom can flourish anywhere, waiting only for the rest of the world to catch up. That same earthy odor that drove people away from the valerian root was precisely what drew its power in. Medieval healers knew this pungent plant, with its clusters of small pink and white flowers, as a powerful cure for a restless spirit. They called it all heal, a name that spoke to its primary role in quieting nervousness, calming trembling hands, and soothing the kind of headaches born from worry. They would brew the thick, gnarled root into a strong tea or tincture, a remedy for those who could not find peace or sleep. The smell was unmistakable, often compared unflatteringly to old, damp socks, yet it held a strange allure. They observed that cats seemed irresistibly drawn to the plant, rolling in it with an almost ecstatic delight. This odd connection, they believed, was another sign of the root's potent, almost animalistic power to alter the senses and calm a frantic mind. Today, you can find valerian root capsules and teas in any health food store, marketed as a natural sleep aid. Modern science has confirmed what those medieval healers sensed. The root contains compounds called valerianic acid and isovaltrate, which interact with the brain's gamma-aminobutyric acid system. This is the very same neurological pathway targeted by prescription drugs like Valium, though valerian's action is far gentler. Clinical studies consistently show that taking valerian root extract can significantly improve sleep quality and reduce the amount of time it takes to fall asleep, without the groggy side effects common to many pharmaceutical sleep aids. The journey of this foul-smelling root, from a monastic infusion for trembling to a modern capsule for insomnia, is a perfect example of a historical use not just being validated, but precisely explained. The very essence that made it distinctive then makes it effective now. A direct botanical line connecting a medieval diagnosis of a troubled mind to our own nightly struggle for rest. A sharp, aromatic root from the east, ginger was worth its weight in gold in the medieval world. This was not merely a culinary luxury, it was a cornerstone of the healer's art, imported along treacherous spice routes at great cost. Apothecaries and wealthy households prized its knobby form for its power to settle a queasy stomach, warm a body chilled to the bone, and cut through the heavy phlegm of a persistent cold. They understood its fundamental nature as a hot, dry spice, perfectly suited to balance the cold dampness they believed caused so many ailments. To make its benefits last through long winters, they would preserve the root in thick, sugary syrups, creating a sweet and spicy medicine. They even pounded it into a paste with honey and breadcrumbs, crafting early forms of what we would call gingerbread, a treat that was as much a digestive aid as it was a delight. This was practical, everyday magic, using a potent import to make life more comfortable and health more robust. Today, that same root is one of the most scientifically validated natural remedies on the planet, particularly for the relentless waves of nausea. Whether it is the rolling deck of a ship, the swaying of a car, or the challenging first months of pregnancy, ginger has proven its ancient worth. The magic lies in a family of compounds called gingerols. These powerful molecules work in two brilliant ways simultaneously. In your digestive tract, they help speed up the emptying of the stomach, preventing that lingering, unsettled feeling. And in your brain, they directly interfere with the receptors that trigger the sensation of nausea and vomiting. It is a dual-front attack on discomfort, a sophisticated mechanism that medieval healers could never have conceived, yet one they harnessed with perfect accuracy. Modern clinical trials have repeatedly shown that ginger is as effective as some pharmaceutical drugs for motion sickness and morning sickness, but with far fewer side effects. So the next time you sip a cup of ginger tea or nibble on a piece of crystallized ginger to calm your stomach, you are partaking in a tradition that spans continents and centuries. You are using a remedy that was carried by camel and ship, prescribed in castles and monasteries, and is now confirmed in laboratories, a timeless testament to a healer's intuition that was simply ahead of its time. That bitter taste you might associate with a common weed was once a celebrated sign of healing. The dandelion, with its sunny yellow flower and tenacious roots, was no garden pest to a medieval healer. It was a vital cleansing medicine, so effective as a diuretic that its folk name across Europe was piss a bed, a blunt and honest label for its powerful effect. Every part of this humble plant was harvested for the apothecary's shelf. The leaves were eaten as a bitter spring green to cleanse the blood after a long winter of salted meats. The sunny flowers were infused into oils for soothing sore muscles, but the true power was believed to reside in the long taproot. When roasted and brewed into a dark, coffee-like drink, it was the go-to tonic for a sluggish liver, believed to flush melancholy and toxins from the body to restore vitality and balance. This was not just a simple remedy, it was a complete detox system growing wild at everyone's doorstep. Modern science has since looked closely at this persistent plant and found a wealth of validation. The root contains potent compounds like taraxacin and inulin, which explain its historical uses perfectly. Taraxacin stimulates bile production from the liver, directly supporting the organ's natural detoxification processes, just as the old healers claimed. The high concentration of inulin, a type of soluble fiber, acts as a powerful probiotic, feeding the beneficial bacteria in your gut and acting as a true digestive aid. And the leaves are packed with potassium, a crucial distinction. While synthetic diuretics can deplete the body's potassium, dandelion leaves naturally replenish it, making their cleansing action both gentle and effective. You can now find dandelion root in detox teas and its tender young leaves sold as a nutrient-dense supergreen in fancy grocery stores. The entire plant is a pharmacy, its uses documented in ancient herbals now confirmed by modern labs. That bright yellow flower you were taught to pull from your lawn has been trying to tell you something for 1,000 years. It is not an invader, but an ally, offering its cleansing power to anyone who knows how to look. A knight preparing for battle might have tucked a sprig of thyme into his armor, not for its flavor, but for the courage it was believed to impart. This humble, fragrant herb was far more than a culinary staple in the medieval world. It was a formidable weapon against sickness. When a relentless cough seized a household, or the dreaded whooping cough left a child gasping for air, healers turned to thyme. They would brew it into a strong, pungent tea to soothe the raw throat and calm the spasms in the chest. They understood its power to cut through phlegm and clear congestion with an effectiveness that felt like magic, but its use extended beyond internal medicine. In a time long before refrigeration, people rubbed thyme onto meats to keep them from spoiling, a practical act of food preservation that hinted at a deeper truth. And when illness struck a home, they would scatter the dried herb on hot coals, filling the sick room with its cleansing, aromatic smoke. This fumigation was their way of purifying the air, of driving out the bad humors they believed caused disease. We now know the secret behind all these diverse uses lies in a single, powerful molecule called thymol. This compound, concentrated in the plant's essential oil, is a fierce antiseptic, antimicrobial, and antifungal agent. That medieval practice of rubbing thyme on meat was effectively coating it in a natural antibiotic, inhibiting the growth of dangerous bacteria. The smoke from their fumigations was filling the air with volatile compounds that could kill mold and germs on surfaces. Today, the legacy of this medieval powerhouse is everywhere. Thymol is the active ingredient in many modern, alcohol-free mouthwashes, where it kills the bacteria responsible for bad breath and gum disease. You will find it in powerful acne treatments and natural cleaning sprays, celebrated for its ability to disinfect without harsh chemicals. So the next time you smell the earthy, pungent scent of thyme, remember you are not just smelling an herb. You are breathing in the essence of an ancient protector, a botanical guardian whose power was recognized for centuries before science could even name it. The belief that rosemary strengthened the mind was so deeply held that students would often wear garlands of it while studying for their exams. This silvery green herb, whose very name means dew of the sea, was woven into the fabric of medieval life as a powerful symbol of remembrance, fidelity, and protection. It was tucked into the bridal bouquets of new couples and laid upon the graves of the departed, a fragrant thread connecting memory to eternity. But its power was not merely symbolic. Medieval apothecaries created a legendary preparation known as Hungary water, an early alcohol-based perfume crafted by steeping fresh rosemary in spirits. This was not just a luxury item for the nobility. It was reputedly invented for a queen of Hungary who, in her advanced years, was cured of her paralysis and rheumatism by its daily application. People would bathe their temples and sore joints with this fragrant water, believing it could stimulate the blood and drive away pain. We now understand the vibrant chemistry behind this ancient remedy. Rosemary is rich in potent antioxidants like rosmarinic acid and contains circulatory stimulants such as camphor. When you inhale the scent of rosemary essential oil, these volatile compounds enter your bloodstream and act as vasodilators, gently widening your blood vessels. This improved circulation delivers more oxygen to your muscles, easing the deep ache that Hungary water was famed for treating, and it also sends a fresh surge of blood to the brain. This is the scientific foundation for the old adage that rosemary is for remembrance. Modern studies have shown that simply smelling rosemary essential oil can lead to a measurable increase in brainwave activity associated with alertness, and can improve performance on memory and cognitive tasks. So the next time you pass a rosemary bush and crush a sprig between your fingers, that crisp, clean scent you release is more than just a pleasant aroma. It is the same botanical signal that medieval scholars trusted to sharpen their wits, a natural cognitive enhancer whose power was celebrated in legend long before it was confirmed in the lab. The same herb that scented the cloisters of a medieval monastery could mend a fractured spirit. Monks cultivated lemon balm with a reverence bordering on devotion, valuing it as a precious remedy for sorrow and unrest. They would steep its bright, citrus-scented leaves in wine, creating a cordial to dispel melancholy and quiet a heart racing with anxiety. It was not just a medicine, it was a form of spiritual solace. The famed physician Paracelsus went so far as to call it the elixir of life, believing it could completely revitalize a person and grant them longevity. This was more than just a pleasant tea. It was a fundamental tool for maintaining mental and emotional balance in a harsh and uncertain world. Today, you can find that same promise in a box of lemon balm tea at your local market. Modern research has uncovered that the plant's calming reputation is firmly rooted in its chemistry. The essential oils in lemon balm, particularly a compound called citronellol, interact with the brain's gamma-aminobutyric acid system, the same calming pathway influenced by valerian root. This action gently slows a racing mind and eases the physical tension that comes with stress. But its power extends beyond the mind. When you feel that dreaded tingle on your lips signaling a cold sore, a cream made from lemon balm extract can be remarkably effective. The plant contains a suite of potent antiviral compounds, including rosmarinic acid, which directly attack the herpes simplex virus, preventing the sore from fully forming and speeding its healing. So whether it is a warm cup of tea soothing your nerves or a cream healing a sore, this cheerful herb continues its ancient work. It connects the monastic quest for inner peace to our own modern search for calm, proving that a little bit of leafy joy can be a powerful medicine indeed. A legendary hero's trust in a simple weed saved countless lives on ancient battlefields. The plant we know as yarrow carries the name of Achilles, the great Greek warrior, for a powerful reason. Myths tell us he carried this plant into the Trojan War, using it to staunch the bleeding wounds of his soldiers. This story was not forgotten in the Middle Ages. On the blood-soaked fields of medieval Europe, yarrow was just as vital. Soldiers and field surgeons knew it by a more direct name, woundwort, and they kept bundles of its feathery leaves close at hand. When a soldier fell, they would crush the leaves into a rough green paste and pack it directly into a gash. The plant's astringent properties would contract the flesh and swiftly stop the bleeding, pulling the edges of a wound together to begin the healing process. But its use did not end there. In the quiet of a village healer's cottage, a tea brewed from its bitter flowers was a trusted remedy for breaking a stubborn fever, and a poultice of its leaves could soothe the fiery red skin of an inflammation. This was a plant that worked from the inside and the outside, a true medicine chest in a single stem. Modern science has since dissected this ancient power, isolating the compounds that make yarrow so effective. The plant is rich in flavonoids and alkaloids that act as potent anti-inflammatories, calming irritated tissue exactly as the old poultices did. More importantly, it contains a unique component called achillin, an alkaloid named for the hero himself, which directly accelerates the blood clotting process. Clinical studies on skin inflammations have confirmed that yarrow extracts can significantly reduce swelling and promote healing, proving that its legendary status was not just a story, but a precise record of its abilities. That unassuming plant with its clusters of tiny white flowers, often dismissed as a roadside weed, is a living bandage, a battlefield remedy that has never lost its power. While the knights carried yarrow into battle, Another humble healer was waiting just outside the castle walls, ready to serve the common folk. Plantain, a low-growing plant with broad ribbed leaves, was so ubiquitous in medieval life that it was considered a staple in every village healer's basket. This is not the banana-like fruit, but a resilient green plant that thrives in compacted soil and well-trodden paths, earning it the name waybread. For a peasant who could not afford a surgeon's fee, this common weed was a first line of defense. If a bee stung a child or a boil festered on a farmer's arm, the remedy was immediate. A fresh plantain leaf would be plucked, chewed briefly to crush its fibers, and pressed directly onto the wound as a moist green poultice. For generations, this simple act was the standard treatment for drawing out poisons, soothing the fiery pain of a sting, and cleaning a dirty cut. Its reputation was so formidable that it was also known as soldier's herb, a trusted field dressing when more esteemed remedies were out of reach. The magic of this unassuming plant lies in a powerful pair of chemical compounds working in perfect harmony. The first, allantoin, is a remarkable molecule that stimulates the growth of new healthy tissue, effectively speeding up the body's natural repair process. The second, aucubin, is a fierce antibacterial agent that attacks the very microbes that cause infection. Modern science now uses synthesized allantoin in countless lotions, creams, and ointments designed to heal skin ulcers, burns, and serious scrapes. So when a medieval healer applied that chewed leaf to a wound, they were delivering a direct dose of a natural antibiotic and a cellular growth stimulant, a sophisticated first aid kit wrapped in a single, common leaf. This plant, so often ripped from manicured lawns today, stands as a quiet testament to the fact that the most powerful medicine does not always come from a rare and exotic source, but often from the most persistent and generous of nature's volunteers. A deep philosophical belief shaped every choice a medieval healer made. They saw the natural world as a divine book, where every plant carried a visible clue to its hidden purpose, a concept known as the Doctrine of Signatures. It was a system of celestial shorthand, a conviction that God had stamped his creations with a physical sign of their intended use. A walnut, with its hard shell protecting a folded, brain-like kernel, was therefore destined to treat ailments of the head. The spotted, lung-shaped leaves of lungwort marked it as the cure for respiratory sickness. The vibrant red sap of bloodroot was clearly meant to treat disorders of the blood. This was not a random guess. It was a complete framework for interpreting the world, guiding herbalists through the immense and often dangerous green pharmacy around them. Of course, this philosophy is not scientifically sound. A plant's appearance does not dictate its chemical properties, yet in a strange twist of fate, this spiritual lens sometimes focused on a genuine cure. Think back to the willow tree, thriving in the cold, damp soil by a riverbank. To a medieval mind, this was a clear signature. The tree flourished in the same wet, cold conditions that brought on fevers and rheumatic pains, so it must logically hold the cure for those very ailments. They brewed its bark into a tea for fever and aches, and as we now know, they were absolutely right. The willow's signature was a lucky coincidence, a perfect alignment of spiritual belief and biochemical reality. This beautiful, flawed system reveals a profound truth about how our ancestors sought knowledge. They were master pattern recognizers, weaving together observation, faith, and a deep desire to find order in a chaotic world. Their methods were different, but their goal was the same as a modern scientist in a lab: to look at a complex problem and find a solution hidden in plain sight. The quiet scratch of a monk's quill on parchment was a vital act of healing. Monasteries served as the primary hospitals and pharmacies of the medieval world, and their walled gardens were living libraries of medicine. Here, monks did more than just pray. They practiced a sophisticated form of science. They cultivated rows of sage for sore throats, rosemary for remembrance, and lavender for purification, all based on ancient texts like those of Galen and Dioscorides, which they meticulously copied and preserved. Every plant was a subject of intense study. They observed its growth, noted its effects when prepared as a tincture, a tea, or a poultice, and carefully recorded the results in beautifully illustrated herbals. These books became the standard medical references for centuries, a bridge between the classical world and the Middle Ages. When a traveler fell ill at the monastery gate or a local villager needed a cure, the knowledge cultivated in that garden and recorded in those pages was their best hope for recovery. This system of observation, documentation, and application established a foundation of botanical knowledge that would one day travel far beyond the cloister walls. That same foundational work is the starting point for much of our modern medicine. Today, large pharmaceutical companies employ teams of ethnobotanists, scientists who study how indigenous and traditional peoples use plants. Their work often begins in a library, not a lab, poring over ancient texts and folk records, searching for plants with a long and consistent history of treating a specific ailment. When they find a promising candidate like the willow bark for pain or the foxglove for heart trouble, they take it into the laboratory. Using sophisticated technology, they work to isolate the single active molecule responsible for the plant's effect, the very same compound that the monks observed working in their holistic preparations. This process transforms a traditional remedy into a standardized, potent, and widely available drug. The monk who copied a description of a fever-reducing plant and the scientist who isolates its active compound in a petri dish are partners in the same timeless endeavor. They are both driven by a fundamental human urge to look at a leaf, a flower, or a root and ask one simple, powerful question: what healing secret are you keeping? This ancient wisdom, however, collides with the stark realities of modern medicine. The debate between herbal and pharmaceutical treatments is one of the most contentious in healthcare today. Proponents of herbal remedies champion their holistic nature. A plant like chamomile offers a gentle symphony of compounds that work together, calming both mind and stomach, often with far fewer harsh side effects than a single molecule pharmaceutical. They are also profoundly accessible, growing in backyards and available without a prescription, placing a form of healing power directly into people's hands. Yet this very accessibility is at the heart of the criticism. A major challenge is the lack of standardization. The amount of active compound in an echinacea root can vary wildly depending on the soil, the time of harvest, and how it was processed. The bottle of St. John's wort you buy one month might be significantly stronger than the next, making precise dosing nearly impossible. There is also a real risk of contamination with heavy metals, pesticides, or even other, more dangerous plants mistakenly mixed in during harvest. Perhaps the most significant danger lies in the quiet, unseen interactions with prescription drugs. St. John's wort, for instance, can dramatically speed up the liver's metabolism, effectively canceling out the effects of birth control pills, antidepressants, and life-saving heart medications. This is not a rejection of historical wisdom, but a call for its responsible integration. The true value lies in a partnership, not a choice. It is absolutely essential to consult your doctor or pharmacist before introducing any herbal supplement, especially if you are on other medications. The goal is to combine the best of both worlds, the gentle, holistic wisdom of the past with the rigorous, evidence-based safety of the present. This journey through medieval gardens is not about abandoning modern science, but about enriching it. It is a celebration of the intuition that identified these powerful plants, and a respectful acknowledgement that we must now wield that knowledge with the careful precision our ancestors could only dream of. That profound respect for plant knowledge is a legacy you can touch and taste for yourself. The safest way to begin this journey is not with a rare, mysterious root, but with the familiar herbs already in your kitchen cabinet. A cup of chamomile tea or a sprig of fresh peppermint are your direct, personal links to this ancient tradition. Before you venture any further, the single most important rule is absolute certainty in identification. Never ever pick and consume a wild plant based on a photograph alone. Many beneficial herbs have deadly look-alikes. Instead, invest in a good field guide specific to your region or use a plant identification app as a starting point, not a final authority. Better yet, the most rewarding path is to grow your own small apothecary garden. A single pot on a windowsill can host a peppermint plant, a thyme bush, and a chamomile plant, giving you a safe, controlled supply of living history. When you are ready to explore beyond what you can grow, always purchase from reputable suppliers who test their products for purity and potency. Remember the crucial lesson from our modern debate: these are powerful botanicals, not gentle snacks. They are medicine. Do not attempt to self-treat serious conditions like depression, heart problems, or chronic pain with herbs. The most profound act of wisdom you can practice is to talk to a professional. Consult your doctor about any supplements you are considering, and seek out a qualified, certified herbalist who can guide you through this green world with knowledge and care. By starting small, respecting the power of these plants, and seeking expert guidance, you do more than just explore history. You become an active participant in its living story, cultivating a connection to the earth that a medieval monk or a village healer would instantly understand. The green world around us is a living chronicle of human ingenuity. Our journey through these medieval gardens reveals a stunning truth: that the comfort of a chamomile tea, the sharp relief of a peppermint capsule, and the familiar scent of lavender are not modern inventions. They are echoes from a distant past, a legacy of careful observation passed down through 1,000 years. Our ancestors, without microscopes or chemical labs, were masterful detectives of the natural world. They watched, they experimented, and they remembered, building a sophisticated understanding of plant medicine through pure, relentless curiosity. They saw a willow tree thriving in damp soil and trusted it could ease the ache of a damp cold. They noticed a soldier's wound heal cleanly under a poultice of yarrow and knew they had found a powerful ally. We now have the science to explain the how, but they had the wisdom to discover the what. This is not a story of primitive superstition, but one of profound connection and intellect. So the next time you walk through a park or tend your own garden, pause for a moment. Look at the dandelion pushing through a crack in the pavement, the rosemary bush in a neighbor's yard, or the plantain growing along a path. See them not as simple weeds or decorations, but as potential pages from an ancient herbal. Each one holds a story, a secret, a whispered piece of wisdom waiting to be remembered. What family story about a simple plant remedy have you been carrying without even knowing it? Share your own piece of this living history in the comments below. Your grandmother's cold remedy, your uncle's secret for soothing a burn. These are the threads that continue to weave this incredible tapestry of discovery. Let's build a community of modern herbal detectives, honoring the past by keeping its wisdom alive and growing.